route because we want the Matthew Book Club to be a safe community for all. Okay, and we also welcome our friends from Penerbit Haru. Thank you for collaborating with us. And we're so happy to collaborate on a great book like Be With You. Actually, it's a really interesting book, and we will talk about that again later. Okay, so our guest host for today is Prisca, and we will talk about Be With You and other heartwarming books. It is okay if you haven't read Be With You. You can also talk about other heartwarming books later. And before we start the meeting, I would like to know if you have read Be With You, can you give an emoji or maybe raise your hand and so on, so we know. Okay, I have read Be With You, so I will give an emoji also. It is a really good book. I love it. Okay. Okay, that's so great. Yeah, some of you have read Be With You also. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the meeting. Maybe first, Kapriska would like to introduce herself. Kapriska, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me here. I'm so honored to attend this meeting and share about everything I know about the book that will be talked about here. First of all, I'd like to tell you that I haven't been speaking English for a very long time, so maybe if I made some mistake or maybe I'm speaking too fast or maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, you can interrupt me and ask me to repeat what I'm saying. So can you hear my voice?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Yes. Okay, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Prisca. I am a writer, editor, and translator, and I have been a freelance editor of Penerbit Haru and have edited some books. I've written as well in the Haru Publishing, and my latest novel is titled Heavenly. And the latest book I edit happened to be With You, which we will talk about right now. And I am told that before we talk about these books, we will talk about some certain genre named Magical Realism. Am I right? So I am told that we will talk about it first. So I will explain about it as well. So share about this kind of genre, which happens to be the genre of Be With You as well. So this is some family genre, but there is a sub-genre, and I think the main genre itself is magical realism, which is very, very fun to talk about. So yeah, I think that's all the introduction from me.
Okay, thank you, Kapriska. I will also share the presentation. So Kapriska would like to share about magical realism and heartwarming books. And wait a minute, I will share the presentation. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can start.
All right. About magical realism. Actually, this is a kind of genre that is very familiar to us, but the problem is we feel that it is not really familiar because although we often find this kind of genres in literary works and movies, we often perceive it as fantasy genre. So because they have some similarities, the two genres have similarities in the way that they contain magical elements, they contain the word that is different from the word we usually said in, and that's why there is always some misconception about the genre itself. So I believe that we often find this kind of genre, but we often perceive it as fantasy. While the two genres are often different in terms of characteristics. So first of all, I would like to tell you about what is magical realism. It is a literary genre which has magical elements perceived in a realistic tone. So that's why we call it magical realism, in a way that it has a very realistic tone, and it is set in the real world, and it differs with fantasy in quite an extent way. So next, so the characteristics of this genre is it is set in the real world, not in a fantastical setting. That is the first clue of magical realism genre. And the second one is the main characters are just human beings with no extraordinary ability. But if they do have any special abilities, it is usually inherited or the power is still acceptable in the real world. I will give you an example of Haru books. It is called The Secret of the Heart Note. The main character is an aromature, some girl with very special ability. So she can smell a lot of kind of fragrances. Yeah, I love this book too. This is really, really, really beautiful book, I think. So this is magical realism in a way that it contains magical elements, and then just like the ability to smell something is just something very magical, isn't it? So we call this magical realism instead of fantasy because the power that is owned by the main character is still acceptable in the real world. So the characters within the book just acknowledge that the main character has this ability, but they just perceive it as something normal. That is one of the traits of magical realism. And the magic elements in magical realism genre is somewhat subtle, very soft, very gentle, presented in a very gentle way, and the realistic issue often becomes the main focus of the story. So even though there is magical elements in magical realism books, the main focus is the character. I mean, the realistic issue resides in these books. And the last trait, actually there are many traits of magical realism, but for now on I will explain this big four first. So the last trait here is magical elements are often unexplained. So if you happen to see some movies or books that are talking about magical elements and then the magical elements are not explained, then it is often called a magical realism story. Why it is not explained? Because within the word itself, the magic is perceived as something usual, something very ordinary, which can be perceived as something normal by the characters inside the books. Next. So this is the question that is often asked about this genre is, what is the difference between magical realism versus fantasy? It is often asked about because, as I've told you before, the boundary is not really clear. It's often blurry, but actually it is easy to make difference between both of them because it's quite different. And then it can be perceived in a different way. So first, it's about magical realism. Basically, the traits here are the same with the previous one. The main characters are just ordinary humans. They do have any special abilities. It is usually inherited from their ancestors, or the power is still acceptable in the real world. While in fantasy, the main characters are often extraordinary humans and fantastical creatures with special abilities which are considered grandiose or taboo or unacceptable in the real world. So if you have to read a fantasy story, the main characters often have these kind of abilities that make the characters in the books are kind of dumbstruck or amazed or surprised because the power that is possessed by the character is unacceptable in the real world. It's different with the power owned by the character in Magical Realism story. And the second one, this is one of very important aspects of Magical Realism. The setting takes place in the real world. We will find on maps. So it is not a fantastical world. Instead, it is the real world, or even if it is made up city or village, it's still designed within the real place we will find on the maps. Whereas in fantasy world, the setting mainly take place in otherworldly places such as Hogwarts or Rotterdam or a lot of magical world we find in young adult series. So that is the trait of fantasy. It mainly takes place in otherworldly places, even though there is real place. The main extent, the extent of the setting itself, it is always in otherworldly places we cannot find on maps. And the third, the difference of the two genres is magical elements are presented in subtle way in magical realism story, and it merges harmoniously within the real world. Whereas in fantasy, the magical elements are presented in massive ways. So what it means, it is presented in a subtle ways. You just can find and be with you. For example, it contains a magical element, but it is very subtle. It is works harmoniously with the real world. It is not grandiose, but you can feel the magic and the extraordinary thing in it. But in fantasy, it is always presented in very massive ways. So you will find magic or spells or otherworldly places or otherworldly creatures in every pages. So in every page you will find that extraordinary thing because it's presented in a very massive ways. The next thing about the difference between these two genres is the main focus of the story in magical realism is always the realistic problem faced by the main character. For example, love, friendship, family, self-discovery, something that we can also experience in our work and then in our daily life. We often deal with this kind of thing, and something that we often encounter in the real life. Whereas in fantasy, the main focus is on the fantastical problems faced by the main characters, like how to defeat the Dark Lord or how to become a great sorcerer. something like that. So it's something grandiose. That is, I think this is the key of the fantasy literature. It is always presented in a very massive ways. And the last one, the magical elements are unexplained in magical realism story. So if you find this kind of thing, it is because, yeah, as I've told you before, it is. You cannot find any explanation about the magic resides in magical realism story because it is perceived as something normal, something that we can find in everyday life. That is why this magical element is often unexplained, because that's just the way it is. The magic is just, yeah, that's just the way it is. Even if it is explained, it will not it will not in a very thorough way. While in fantasy, the magical elements have to be explained because the character in the story itself always learned something about this new world, the fantastical world that he or she encounters. So if you read Harry Potter or the Crusaders or the Young Elites series, the magical elements are always explained very, very in a very detailed manners. So next, I will show you some examples about the difference between the two books that I myself write. The next slide, please. So these two are the books I write myself. The first one is has magical realism genre, and the second one is fantasy. In the magical realism book I write, titled Wintry Time, the magical element, you see that there is only one magical element. The magical element is time loop. So basically the story is about a girl, an ordinary girl, which happens to experience the same day over and over again. So it has Groundhog Day theme. So she repeats that day over and over again. And you see that the main characters here are just two ordinary college students, no special ability, just ordinary student without any power or something like that. And the setting is in a real place in suburban London. And the main focus is here, just like what I've told you before, how Celia, the main character of this story, realizes the most important things in her life during the loops she experiences. So it's kind of self-discovery, and it mainly talks about love and then friendship and slices of life. It's she. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm really honored if you add it in your to be read, please. The second one is how she breaks the time loop. So you see here that the main focus here is the thing that she encounters in her real life that we can also experience. And so for Heavenly, this is a fantasy. You see there is a lot of differences between these two books, in which the magical elements and main characters and settings and main focus, they are very different. In Heavenly, the magical elements, you see there are 4 magical elements here. Well, in Wintry Time, there is only one magical element, and it is presented in very subtle way. While in heavenly, there are mythological beings, dystopian future, supernatural abilities, the otherworldly places. There are a lot of magical elements. The magical elements here are presented in a very, very massive ways. And the main characters is the deity of the deaths in Greek mythology, Hades. So any fans of Rick Riordan here? Because I am. So this book has my own interpretation for Hades and more mythological beings. The main characters are not ordinary college students, but instead the beings which we cannot find in the real world. There are more fantastical setting as well. It's dystopian future, the realm of the dead. Although it is taken in a real place, the places have modified a lot, and you cannot find the places in a map. And the main focus of the heavenly novel is how Hades helps his soon-to-be love interest to save the world. So you see, this is not an ordinary or an everyday life. This is the life that we can only find in fantasy novels. And how Hades finds his long prophesied Persephone, his wife in Greek mythology. So that is the main focus of Heavenly. So you see, there are a lot of differences actually. So the main trait is fantasy novel is always having a lot of magic and a lot of massive magic inside it. So next. Oh yeah, this is the book which I told you before, The Secret of a Heart Note. This is magical realism in a way, as I've told you before. The main character is an ordinary high school girl who happens to have a special ability, and the power is still acceptable within the real world, and it is set in the real world. And the main focus is how she finds her love and how it affects her ability to smell fragrances around her. Next. Okay, now we're talking about Be With You. So far, is there any questions about magical realism before we continue to Be With You?
Okay, if you have any questions about magical realism, then you can maybe chat it in the put it in the chat box. I think for now there's still no questions, so maybe Prisca, you can continue first.
Okay, so let's talk about Be With You. Be With You, as I've told you before, it is a book with magical realism genre and family genre. It is a very heartwarming book itself. So the book centers on a character named Takumi, who lost his wife Mio and needs to be a single parent for his only son, Yuji. All of a sudden, during his usual walk alongside Yuji in the forest, Takumi and Yuji, I'm sorry, this is typo here. There is typo here, and yeah, basically Takumi and Yuji find Mio amid the forest, looks very alive and unscratched, as if she hasn't passed away at all before. And afterwards, their days as a family begins to start over. So that is the main premise of this novel. Next. So this book is magical realism in the way that there is some magical element which happens to be Mio returning from the dead. It seems it seems scary here, but actually it's not. It not scary at all. She did return from the dead, but not in a horrific way. So it is presented in a very, I think it is presented in a beautiful way. I think the main characters are ordinary human. They are ordinary family living in a little town in Japan. This set in a real world, a little town in Japan, even though it is not mentioned which town it is, but it is set in the word we can find on map. And the main focus is how a husband and a child deal with their loss and how they go on living even after their loved one passed away. So this is about a man who is trying their best to be a father after his wife passes away, and the loss may actually if you see the character, the character here is, it's not a very yeah, he is clumsy in a way that he cannot treat his son as well and as good as his wife treated him. Not that he is abusive, no, he is a very loving father, but he just happens to have some mental disorder that makes him cannot function in a way that a normal person can. So this is just how he managed to be a good father after his wife left him. So it is something that we often find in the real world, right? So how to deal with loss, how to deal with your loved one passing away. So this is a very heartwarming and magical in its simplicity, I think. And this book has been adapted into various forms, including manga and TV series. And yeah, the writing is very simple but lovely. You will not find any flowery languages here. It is presented in very simple ways. And there is a surprising plot twist. And something that you will not, I think you won't see it coming. And it's quite surprising. And just like any other magical realism works, don't expect the magic elements to be explained in the story. So how did his wife return from the dead? Yeah, it is explained, but it is not explained in a very clear way. So that is just how this book very much magical realism genre. Yeah, so I think that's it about Be With You and the other books I need to present here. Maybe you have any questions regarding to this book and Be With You. Maybe you may share about Be With You as well.
Okay, so we have one question here from Debbie. So magical realism is a genre where the characters have such kind of spiritual experience. Is it like that or how is it?
Yeah, mainly not just spiritual experience, but any magical experience. So magical experience, we find it weird, but not so weird that you perceive it as a fantasy genre. So it is very soft, supernatural phenomena. So it can be spiritual, but it doesn't necessarily to be spiritual as well. For example, maybe it's related with time, or it is related with ghosts, maybe. Just like Be With You, you know, how someone returned from the dead, but it is not presented in a very massive way. So it can be spiritual, but it can also be magical in general.
Okay. I also have a question maybe about your book here. So I'm kind of curious about Heavenly. Like, is it set in the past world? As we know that the Greek mythology is like set in the past world, or is it like in the present world, or how is it, Kapriska?
It is set in dystopian future. So yeah, it is set in the future in the year 2151. So like almost 200 years ahead. Why is it set in the future? You can find the answer in the book. So I choose to make some setting which is not very, very common in mythological books. You know that a lot of mythological books are set in the past or in the present, but here I choose to present it in the dystopian future, in the way that the future is just something that just like today's world, you know, a lot of chaos, a lot of catastrophe, a lot of disasters, and here this deities, this Hades came to see and to save this dystopian world. So it is set in the future.
Okay,
And there's also some references in the past, but not not in a way that it is set really in the past. It's just like a flashback, I think. Flashback into the 3,000 years ago, where mythological story emerged.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's really interesting because I see a lot of like stories about Hades and Persephone because they're quite popular. And also the cover is very beautiful. A lot of comments in the chat say that.
Yeah.
So we have another question from Krisan. Like, do you know what is the diagnosis of the mental illness that Takumi has in Be With You? Because there's like he has a mental illness of something like that. Like he can go to crowded places. Like, do you know the name of the mental illness? Because it's not clearly explained in the book.
Actually, it is said in the book. He suffers from hypochondria. Hypochondria is one of the illness you can find in an anxiety disorder patient, because I happen to have hypochondria myself last year. So I relate with this character so much. The hypochondria illness is some mental illness which relates to I relate so much with this illness. I kind of difficult for me to explain, but it is mainly an illness which has something to do with the fear of illness. So you see that can I explain some spoiler here? not not the ending, but how Takumi catch this anxiety disorder illness. It is explained here in the middle of the story.
I think better not with spoiler. So maybe you can like explain like what made Takumi get that mental illness like that. And maybe like in general, not in like in the story. Is it like fear of death or grief or what is it?
In this story, it is explained that one day he experienced some illness which has something to do with breath. So she catch pneumonia and bronchitis. I think pneumonia or bronchitis, which I myself had last year. Just very, very similar. That's why when I edit this book, it's just I felt like, how come it is very similar with my experience? So he catches pneumonia and bronchitis, and afterwards, I think 3 days after he was discharged from the hospital, he experienced the same symptoms, pneumonia and bronchitis. But actually, this is not the illness itself that he experienced, but the post-traumatic the post-traumatic event that he experienced. So anxiety disorder is an illness that copies the illness that you fear. So it is that's why we call it hypochondria. I think it is a term that is I forgot where the term comes from, but it's mainly something that he's just very traumatic about his illness that he happens to feel the fear, excessive fear about the illness itself. So it is explained in the books actually how he cannot stay in a crowded place. It is mainly not because the fear of crowded place. It is because he feels like very overwhelmed in the middle of crowded place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like so he has a traumatic experience that eventually made him feel like he is sick when he's actually like he's not having that illness. I think it's like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one last question from Tia. Hi Kak Prisca, as a writer, what is the challenge to write a magical realism book?
I think the challenge in writing magical realism book is how you can make the magic inside the book believable, and how you combine the realistic world and the magical elements inside it, so that reader will find it believable instead of not believable. So that's just the challenge of writing this kind of book. So you have to practice a lot, actually. So the answer is just practicing to write the magical elements and combining it with the realistical elements. I know it will take a lot of it takes a long time, because I myself did, but if you practice a lot and then you read a lot and you just have a lot of references about this genre, you can write it well. So it's just that to put magical element in a story is kind of tricky. You you have to make the readers believe that the story is really magical. You have to present it, and the imagery that present in magical book is different with the imagery presented in realistic, pure realistic book. So yeah, that's the challenge, I think, but it's fun actually.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kapriska, for answering. Okay, and also thank you, Kapriska, for presenting about magical realism. Okay, so we will talk about the books that you all bring here to the meeting. So we will be divided into 2 breakout rooms, I think. Okay, can Airin help me to divide the group in the breakout room?
Okay.
Okay. So prepare your heartwarming books. I myself will be with you and I have something to ask about this later. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, there's also one more, I think, interesting question, but maybe we can talk about that in the end later. Okay, wait a minute.
Okay, should be open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be open.
Okay, it's already divided.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, people are still moving. Okay, wait a minute then. Okay, have all of them move to the breakout room?
Sherry, you're in this room, yeah, still with
I'm in this
Andri,
room.
Dante.
Okay, so if you want to open your camera, everyone, then you're welcome to do so. Okay, so maybe I can talk first. And I actually have something to ask later to Andri, maybe about the Japanese translation, but maybe later. Okay, so I will talk about Be With You. So as Kapriska has explained, Be With You is a book about Takumi and Hyuji, who is experiencing like a magical experience. So Takumi's wife, Mio, has passed away, and one day they were walking in the forest where they used to walk with Mio, and they found Mio like crouching there, like she's like healthy and there's no scratches on her body, like she's just okay, and it's just like that she hasn't passed away all this time. And they were so surprised, and Takumi decided to hide the whole truth from Mio. So Mio said that she lost all her memories, and Takuji and Yuji decided to just hide the truth away from Mio. Like she hasn't passed away all this time, and they start their new life, yeah, as a family like that. So I think this book is really interesting, and like Kapriska said, because it is a magical realism, so the magic in it, which is Neo coming back from death, is very subtly explained. Like um, it is not explained why Neo can come back from the dead, but it's kind of being explained in the end, but not in a magical way, like why it's happening and so like that. And I also like the character, like Yuji here is so cute, and mostly the book has a lot of flashbacks about Mio and Takuji's life. And I watched a bit of the movie yesterday. It's not finished yet because I had some work to do. But it is a very heartwarming book and also a very heartwarming movie from the beginning. The one that maybe will make you cry. And it really relates in terms of death, like how we all deal with grieving, how we all deal with death, and so on. And my thoughts after I read this book is like, how do you explain that to a 6-year-old child? Like, I think Takumi did a great job because how Takumi explained that to Yuji is that he said, "Oh, Mama is in Arkaibu Planet. Arkaibu Planet is the place for the dead that Takumi invented, something like that. So Yuji can understand that her mother is still watching over them from that place, and one day you will also go to that place after you're dead. So I think that's a way of explaining that to a 6-year-old child. Yeah, I think it's hard to explain that to a 6-year-old child. And one thing that I want to ask to Andre is this. So actually the Japanese title is Ima ai ni yukimasu. So I googled that, and Ima, from my understanding, Ima means like right now, and I is like ai ni yukimasu is I will go to you. So actually the title translates to like now I will go to you, or now I will like be with you. But yeah, like why is it translated to be with you? Like, yeah, I think that would be interesting to hear from Ka Andre.
Okay, it's just like a matter of which title is more known to people, because the drama and the movie, the Japanese movie, is known as Be With You in Indonesia and another country too. So we use that title. Actually, I more prefer the original title that I will go to you, as Sherry said, but maybe people won't, how can I say, connect the book with the movie. So we choose the movie titles for the book.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, I think that's it from me. Do anyone else want to share your heartwarming books? It can be with you or not, it's okay. Okay, anyone else want to share? Or maybe from, okay, you can open your mic or maybe raise your hand if you want to share. Okay, maybe if not, how about from Ka Andre first? Do you have any heartwarming books to share?
Okay. I have quite a lot. How many books should I? I have one fiction and one non-fiction. Outside of Be With You, of course, I have Kitchen. I like this book. This book is written by Yoshimoto Banana. I think you guys know about the writers. Kitchen is her debut novels, and it consists of 3 novellas. Kitchen, Kitchen 2, and what's the last one? Moonlight Shadow, if I'm not wrong. The book is talking about how you deal with grief and the death of your beloved one. The first story is talking about how you lost a grandmother, and the second one how you lost a mother, and the last one is the main character lost her boyfriend. And I like this book as, how can I say, it doesn't use too much explanation about grief, not much crying, not much sadness. How can I say, it's very simple. It's not dramatical books, but it capture grief and sadness perfectly. So I like this book, and how they overcome the grief and everything. It's, for me, it's really a heartwarming book. And the second one is a non-fiction book. It's called Siapa Yang Datang ke Pemakamanku, Who Will Come to My Funeral When I Die. It's actually a non-fiction. The writer write about his daily life and how he sees the event of his daily life as something that he will think about at night and write about it and think about it, and what can he get from that daily event. So yeah, I like this book because it's talk about relationship, about our relationship with others. So it's talk about a lot of relationship. So yeah, that's my two books.
Okay, I just remember that nonfiction can also be a heartwarming books, because when we talk about heartwarming books, usually we think about fictions, but actually nonfictions can also be heartwarming books. I have read Siapa Yang Datang ke Pemakamanku Saat Aku Mati Nanti. That's a very long title, but it's actually worth to read. Like it's the writer writes the subject in a very gentle way, I think, like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not preachy. I like
Yeah,
it's preachy.
yeah. Like he's talking to himself. Like most lines in the books is like, for example, like, oh aku dapat melewati semua ini. Like it's not like talking to the readers usually. Yeah, some of them are talking to the readers, but mostly like he's talking to himself, and that makes me like, yeah, it is told in a very subtle way. I like that. Okay, anyone else want to share your book? Okay, Dante.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. So the one book that I brought for this meeting is this one. Oh, you can see this is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. So this story tells the journey of a father and a son. So this is father-son story as they try to survive in an apocalyptic world where humans have turned into cannibals. The story is actually quite graphic and quite violent, but what makes this heartwarming is the fact that the father tries to move with his life and his son's life, because at first he kind of considered committing suicide, but slowly as the story goes on, he teaches his son to survive. He shows compassion, and not in a preachy way as well, because they never say I love you to one another, but we can see from their actions that they actually care about one another. And by the end of it, he finally has faith to let his son go. So there's this kind of passing the torch moment. And I guess that's what's great about this book. Despite being about cannibals and so violent, there's this hopeful story and also touching story between a father and a son. It almost seems kind of hopeful, although the ending is quite tragic. So yeah, that's my book for this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dante. Is it a thriller book, or what genre is it?
It's kind of post-apocalyptic, like ending scenario. The world has come to an end type of novel.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Like even you can find the heartwarming side in apocalyptic book. Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, you can raise your hand if you want to share, or you can just unmute your mic. Okay, if
Should I go?
Yeah.
Should I go next? Did
Okay.
somebody raise their hand already?
Not yet. So yeah, you can.
Let me turn on my video. Okay. Hi. A little bit messy because my hair is a mess. Too long. Hair is too long. It's problematic. Rontak. Hi everyone. So thank you so much, Prisca. Yeah, Kak Prisca. It was very, very enlightening. I didn't know that about the differences between fantasy and magical realism. So thanks for explaining that. Okay, so I just asked Sherry, I don't know a heartwarming book. Is this book heartwarming or not? And she said, yes, it's heartwarming. This is kind of similar to what Kak Andrew was saying, but this is actually something that I wrote. It's Sketches and Regrets, and it's published by Omah Library. So Sketches and Regrets. And this is a non-fiction, yeah, but yeah, Sharia. It's a non-fiction, and this is a short memoir of my first marriage, which was from 2017 to 2019. And then my first husband died. He died in 2019. So it's he was an architect, so that's why it's called Sketches and Regrets, because this book has my writings about our short relationship, 2 years. We were only married for 2 years, and then it's paired with his drawings in his notebooks. And the reason that it's pink is because the last notebook that he died was a pink notebook, which I gave it to him for his birthday. So this is kind of how it looks like. There's the writings, and then there's some of his sketches. And if you live in Bandung, if you're from Bandung, you might recognize some of his buildings here because he made them. So that's Sketches and Regrets.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I have read Sketches and Regrets, and it feels like going through Bandung. There are a lot of unknown places in Bandung that I have seen sometimes, yeah, and even I have gone there for some of them. Okay. Okay, anyone else? Maybe Nita. How about Nita? Because you have turned on your video.
Yeah, okay then. Yeah, hello. Okay, so for this meeting, actually, I have prepared 2 books. The books that I consider as heartwarming. Okay, one of them is Anne of Green Gables. Okay, probably, yeah, probably you're familiar with it. Okay, so the first time I read it, I read the translated one, the translated version, and I fell in love with it. And then, so for this one, because I really loved it, so I bought the graphic novel version. Yeah, because it is so cute. Yeah, okay, so this is actually a classic book. So I mean, I think people, some people are already familiar with this book. Yeah, so, but I will also tell you what is this about. So this is about an orphan girl, actually. And then she was adopted by a sibling, a brother and sister. And what is it? I consider this as a heartwarming because, yeah, actually it's a simple book, right? A very simple book. And then because, what is it? This is like a found family trope. Yeah, it has a found family trope because, what is it? Because, what is it? Even though they're not related by blood, but they love each other like their family, like that. And then the heartwarming part is at the end, when Anne went to college, I think, and then yeah, and then it was so heartwarming, and it was really sad because what is it? They expected a boy. Yeah, they wanted to adopt a boy orphan, but they got a girl instead. But they took her in and they raised her, and she grew up to be a really adorable woman, young woman. Yeah, so that's why I love this so much for Anne of Green Gables. And I've read it so many times because I really love this, and because it's really simple. You can just you can just read it anytime you want, and it's still going to entertain you. Yeah? So that's why I consider this as a heartwarming book for my option for this book. And then for the second one, I also have this book. This is The Secret Life of Bees. Yeah, maybe some of you are familiar with it, or maybe not. Yeah, but this one actually it also has been adapted to a movie if you want to check it out. But I never seen the movie because because I already have my own imagination of this book, so I don't want to watch the movie about this. Yeah, so this is also it also has a found family trope. Yeah, because I think the books that can be considered as a heartwarming book is when it has a found family trope. You know, when they're not related by blood, but they really love each other like their family, yeah, like that. So that's why I love this book. I love these 2 books, yeah, because they have a found family trope. Yeah, I think that's all from me. Like.
Okay, and I also want to ask, where did you buy the end graphic novel? I would love to buy that.
Oh, this is from Periplus.
Oh, okay. I will search it then.
Yeah, okay.
I have read it in like digital version, but would love to have the physical one because I love it so much too. I cried a lot in the end because it's really heartwarming.
Me too. I cried at the end. Yeah, so you can buy this in Play Plus, and surprisingly, even though it's graphic novel, I don't think it's quite pricey. You can just check it out.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll check it out.
Okay.
Okay, I just bought also Anne of Green Gables, but the novel version from Big Bad Wolf. So, oh, one more thing. I wonder how many books does this series have? Like, is it just 3? But I googled it and they have like 6 or so.
Yeah. For how many books like exactly? Actually, I don't know, but I only have 3. I only read the 3 of them. Yeah, but I mean, but there are some books that when Anne have children, I think. Yeah, but yeah, I don't read it yet. But later maybe I'll also check them out.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Come on, everyone, don't be shy. Dante said Cherry has jasmine poison. Yeah. I hope the graphic novel version was in Big Bad Wolf because I bought the novel in Big Bad Wolf. A box set, it was only like 165,000 for a box set of 3 books. That's really, really cheap, I think. Okay, maybe I should choose someone. What about Sora? Sora?
Yes, hello.
Okay.
Should I turn? Can I? Okay.
You can. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to open your cam or not. That's up to you. It's just your name, your last name reminds me of a manhwa novel, manhwa character that I've been reading.
Oh yeah. Well, hello. It's my first time in here, and I'm kind of nervous because I'm not like a really hardcore bookworm, and I just read books for fun. When it comes to heartwarming books, only there are 2 books that cross my mind. The first one being Terelies. It's Terelies Bidadari Bidadari Surga. So I guess in English, it would be Angels from Heaven. Yeah, I think that's the appropriate English title for it. But yeah, it talks about this family, family of 5, family with 5 children, and it talks about the sacrifice of their eldest child, the eldest child, that sacrificed her happiness for the goods of their family. So like their eldest sister would work every day because they were just a small family in this village yang jauh di pedalaman gitu, and yang namanya pedalaman, as you may know, there's not really much that we can see there, and the education in there is just, everything is still so I don't know, how do you say this, masih, kalau dalam bahasa Indonesianya masih belum terlalu tersempurnakan gitu, masih belum maju gitu. Yeah, and it's really heartwarming for me because the sacrifice of the eldest sister, she's very kind and she's very nice, even though she's kind of strict at times. But truly, all she wanted is for the family's own good gitu. The way she would sacrifice her times to help her mother, or the way she would just voluntarily let the other their other brother, her other siblings married before her. I think it's just so heartwarming to see someone that could sacrifice that much. And the second one being this is actually, the second one is Evergreen by Kak Prisca herself. Evergreen talks about, yet again, happiness. I think that if, happiness that revolves around others and not just us. I think that concept is really, really heartwarming for me. And so, yeah, Evergreen talks about this girl called, she's named Rachel Yumeko River. And she actually started really bad because she just got fired, apparently. But then through the journey of this book, she realized that it's not always about her, that happiness doesn't only come, that if she's happy, the world could have like a lot of things happening to them as well. So like there's a lot of things happening in this world, and it's not just about you. Well, that's first, but the second of all is just to be happy when others are happy, just like what happened at the end of the book. She realized that it's really contagious. Happiness is really contagious, and happiness that comes from making other people happy as well. It's so beautiful, it's so heartwarming, and it feels so great, because at the end of the day, we humans, we need each others. And I think to be happy with others is like one of the most heartwarming things I've come across in this world. Yeah, you really don't want to be happy on your own. I mean, you'll feel, I think it just feels bad. It feels bad. Yeah, so I think that's all. I'm really sorry for my broken English. I really hope you can understand what I said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sora. You did a great job. Okay, I haven't read Evergreen, but from Prisca, I have read Love Thief, but I haven't read the second book, so I'm looking forward to reading the second book. Okay, who's next? Anyone? Okay, if not, maybe I can choose someone. What about Widhi? I love the color of your profile picture. Widhi? Okay, if not, maybe Kim Aha.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello. This is my first time also in this book club, so forgive me if I'm being nervous. So the book that I bring is Laura Dean Keep Breaking Up With Me, but I actually don't know if this counts as heartwarming. So I'll just explain it. So Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me is a graphic novel. It's about the main character, Freddie, is in toxic relationship because her girlfriend, Laura Dean, keeps breaking up with her. It explores a toxic relationship and how hard it is to be in one, and how hard it is to break up in because toxic relationship where the lows can be so low, because but you can break up with Laura Dean because Freddie keeps having fun with her, because if she goes back to Freddie, sorry, I can explain very well in English. I like this graphic novel, Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, because the art is beautiful and the prose is very lyrical. So it adds very charming notes to these graphic novels. It also explores about friendships and how if you are in a terrible situation, mentally or well in this situation, it can be very hard to maintain a good friendship with your other friends. In this book, Freddie is not a very good friend while she is in toxic relationship with Laura Dean. But in the selama progress bukunya itu, Freddie can learn how to be a good friend, and it shows that you can never be too late to be a good friend. I bring this book up because the end is actually very hopeful, and I thought it could be heartwarming.
Okay, yeah. Is that all?
Um, yes, actually, I actually only read novella and graphic novels these days.
Okay, that's okay. I love graphic novels too, and I have read that. The art is very beautiful, like it's told in just actually mute colors, like pink. All of them in is pink in different shades, but that's a really good book about toxic relationship actually.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Shannon have also read that. She say in the chat. Okay, anyone else? Okay, come on everyone, don't be shy. So we already have two graphic novel recommendations, and in Green Gables, and also Laura Dean keeps breaking up with me. Okay, what about Shannon? Shannon, I'm curious about what book you have brought.
Hi, hello. Actually, I don't have that many heartwarming books. The title that crossed my mind is actually Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and I already present this book in Matt's July meeting. Six Crimson Cranes is about the adventure of Princess Shiori. So Princess Shiori is the only princess in the realm, and she has six brothers. When an accident occurred, her stepmother cursed all her brothers and turned them into a crane. So Shiori has to find a way to break this curse and save her family as well as her kingdom from dangers. So it's young adult fantasy. And what I really like about Six Crimson Cranes is how beautiful and lyrical the writing is. It just screamed fairy tale vibes to me. And it's rare to find a love interest character that has a kind and pure heart like Takan from Six Crimson Cranes, because love interest from other young adult fantasy, well, if I can give some examples like Garden Greenbrier from The Glow Prince, and what else is there? I don't know, I forgot, but but I only remember Cardan, and Cardan is, he is described as this arrogant and mean boy, while Takan from Six Crimson Cranes is really like this generous and patient and kind. And not only Takan, but I also love other side characters. They really, really like stepping out of a fairy tale story for me. So yeah, Six Crimson Cranes has become my comfort book. Thank you.
Okay, that's a book with a very beautiful cover that I just want to read it from the cover. I really love the cover. If you have seen the cover of Six Crimson Cranes.
Yeah, both covers are really beautiful. The
Yeah.
UK and US.
Yeah, I've seen both covers, and yeah, they're both really beautiful. Okay, anyone else want to share about your book? Actually, if you're talking about heartwarming books, I want to also mention my number one heartwarming book. It's I Saw the Same Dream Again, but maybe you have heard me recommending that so many times, because it's a book that I will read again and again. Okay, anyone else? Maybe Shannon can choose someone. Shannon.
Maybe Rizka Junior.
Okay. Okay, Rizka, are you there? Okay, maybe maybe other person, Shannon.
Okay, if not Rizka, well, Fauzia, would you like to share your heartwarming book?
Okay, what about Fauzia? Okay, maybe Tia first. How about Tia?
Hello, everyone. Hi,
Yeah.
Sherry.
Hi.
Heartwarming. I'm currently reading this books called All the Light We. I'm sorry. All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony. I don't know how to say it. Anthony Doerr. Doerr. Oops. Yeah. Actually, this book tells a story about a blind girl living in France and also a boy living in a German. So the story sets in World War II during the invasion of France. There are two main characters, as I said before. A boy living in German. He is an orphan, while the girl is blind and live with her father in Paris. She lost her mother while since he was born, so she um, she didn't see her mother since she was a child. What I found that the book is heartwarming is because the small thing that the characters did during the World War II. I mean, it's like the usual thing people did, but in a war setting, it becomes heartwarming because I mean that usual thing that we did is a privilege during that war. And also the description about the setting itself, it's so vivid and it's so detailed. For example, the blind girl describes her father as a sunrise. So the existence of her father radiated a warm light to her. Yeah, because I'm still reading this book, so I cannot tell the story more. Yeah, I think that's all, Sari.
Okay, thank you, Tia. So everyone is here already. So there are some people in our group that hasn't shared their book. So if you want to share your book, then you can raise your hand. Okay, does anyone want to share your book before we continue to the discussion? Okay, if not, then we have some discussion questions. So, okay, maybe from Julieta, how about the discussion question?
I'm sorry. What, Sherry?
So for the discussion question, is it from Julieta or Krisan? I think.
From me.
I think
Oh, okay.
Okay, the first one, it's for all of you. So if you want to answer, you can just raise your hand. The first question is, what makes a book heartwarming?
I think that's quite a broad question. So maybe I can answer first.
Okay.
What makes a book heartwarming for me? I think like most heartwarming book talks about life. I think so. Like it is really relatable to what we are going through in life. For example, sometimes it talk about death, or sometimes it talk about happiness, but it warms our heart in a certain way that we understand something from the book that really relates to our life. I think that makes a heartwarming book. Okay, anyone else want to answer?
Can I add something?
Okay, sure.
I think what makes literary work or anything heartwarming is the mood presented by the story. So the mood and the tone. So it's just one of the things that is making some works heartwarming. Here I want to talk about. I'm sorry, maybe I'm late because I supposed to say it in the previous section. But is it okay if I give some examples? For example, this is not a book actually. This is a TV series. The TV series is called Friends. Maybe you love it, and because I love it so much, the tone that is presented by the movie is very warm and then very just like Instagram filters. But it is not a filter because it is set in 90s, so it is really warm in a way that that is the mood in that year can be. So it is also talking about friendship and then love, and also some kind of slices of life. And I think something that is related to the closest one, it will be considered as heartwarming. So I would like to tell you about this. Is actually my own my own writing. I have shared before. So the title is Wintry Time. So you can see it here. So the cover is very blurry. So it tells about time loop, how the main characters experience the loop over and over again. So she experienced the loop over and over again in her birthday, and it revolves around two best friends. So I think something related to best friends are actually often considered heartwarming. So there is a scene where the girl in this story, in my story, Wintry Time, there are scenes where the girl remember every heartwarming and sweet moments with her best friend, but her best friend doesn't. So because her best friend doesn't experience the time loop, so it's kind of Alzheimer, but in a magical ways. So I think something that is related to best friends are often considered as heartwarming because it is related in our daily life as well.
Okay, I haven't watched Friends, but I think there's so many episodes, so I'm quite confused when I want to watch it. Like, oh, so many episodes to catch up. Like, yeah, but maybe one day I will watch it. Okay, anyone else want to answer the question?
Can I answer it?
Okay, sure.
So I actually agree with Miss Prisca. I also agree that a book is heartwarming for me if according to if the mood and the tone is also invoking that warm heartwarming feeling. Like Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me has this beautiful pink color tone in the art, and the prose are also very lyrical, very beautiful. So it sets the mood and the tone for me. Also, just like the previous one said, I also consider heartwarming if the friendship or the platonic love is very nicely written or nicely done. It's actually quite hard for me to consider romance to be heartwarming since most romance in fiction seems to be very fast-paced. It's kind of hard for me to do that. But platonic love, some things like familial or friendship, is actually very easy for me to see how heartwarming it is.
Yeah, I agree too. I have read Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me. And yeah, the tone of the book is really, really warm. So I think, yeah, it succeeds in like telling the story in a graphic way, as it is a graphic novel. Okay, anyone else want to answer? If not, maybe we can move to, oh, okay, Debbie.
I just want to add a little bit about, I mean, I thought, for me, a heartwarming book is a book that that doesn't give you any pressure. Yeah, like you just go with the story, but at the end you feel something like it's really touch you deeply, and there's always things that you got from the story, something about life, etc. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Debbie. Okay, maybe we should move to the next question, Kak Krisan.
Okay, the second question, I hope this is more specific. So let's think about all of the characters in all of the heartwarming books that you have read. Which character do you relate the most? From what book and why?
Okay, let's give them some time to think about it because I'm still thinking about it too. Okay, the characters that relates to you the most. I have one book, but I think it is not very heartwarming in kind of in a way, but I really relate to Amanda in Untuk Amanda. That's an Indonesian book that talks about Amanda is a genius student, but one day she questioned does she really deserve the A grade, or is it just luck like that? So I really relate to that because I'm living in a family where they expect me to do well, like not pushing, but maybe I've always been pushed to the academic side ever since I was little. So it becomes a habit. Like I must get good grades. It becomes a habit. And actually, I really relate to Untuk Amanda because if I don't get good grades, I would question myself sometimes. So um, Untuk Amanda teach me that it is really okay if you don't have like a perfect grade in education. Your mental health is more important, and sometimes like the stress of students for doing school works is not really appreciated. Like, oh, you just cry too much, or is it is like too much to cry over the grades, but actually school can be pretty stressing. So I think Amanda really relates to me in kind of that way. Okay, anyone else? And meanwhile, there's a comment from Kadia. So maybe it's different for everyone. The things that can warm one's heart may be different from person to person. Yeah, maybe we can define heartwarming books in different ways. For example, some people might relate more to grief. Some people might relate more to happiness and so on. Yeah, but I think everyone agree that there is some sort of positivity that one can find in a heartwarming book. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, anyone want to answer Kakrisan's question about the heartwarming characters that you relate to the most? I think you all have one. Maybe Dante have something in his mind because yeah, you unmuted your mic before.
So this is definitely not related to me, but the character is just a kind person. Her name is Sonia Marmaladova. She's from Russian, from the novel Crime and Punishment. The reason why she's a heartwarming character is that although she becomes a prostitute in the story, her love for her family and for a murderer never ceases. So she still forgives, she still helps. And this kind of person is just somewhat makes a novel sometimes heartwarming because everything about her is just positive. There's nothing negative. but definitely it's not definitely related to me. It's just that one character that I love and I think is positive in a book that's quite depressing as well. So yeah, that's my character, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Dante. I haven't read that book. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I'm curious about what character relates to you the most, I think.
Okay, I have one. I have another comfort book, but I don't have the copy yet. So the book is Eliza and Her Monster by Francisca Zappia. So I read it while I was in high school, and in breakout room, I was sharing about a book called The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I relate a lot to Charlie, but I also relate to Eliza because she's a creative and she's actually popular on the internet, and she likes making story, and the story is pretty deep and complex for a contemporary book. So I relate a lot to her, and even if for a contemporary book it's pretty thick, I like reading it, and it 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 brings me comfort that I'm not alone while struggling in high school. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, for reminding me about that book. Actually, I really relate to Eliza a lot too when I was in high school. So maybe for some background, Eliza is really famous. Like she is a comic author, but she hides her identity and she has like social problems. Like she has some difficulties in making new friends and being in a world of strangers. So I think that really relates to me because I'm having some difficulties doing that, although not to the extent of Eliza. Okay, anyone else? Hey, I want to ask Kandri, what is Kandri's most relatable character?
Maybe Takumi from Be With You, because it's not like a typical main characters in a romance book. Usually male character in romance book is like, the writer draw him as a perfect figures, maybe a bad boy or something like that. But Takumi is just a usual person. Is just a father and a husband to his wife, and he does not have a grandiose job. He's just someone who works in an office, and his daily life is not something like some kind of CEO or something. So yeah, I think I most relatable with Takumi.
Okay. Okay, thank you for answering, Kandri. Okay, anyone else before we move on to the next question? Okay, if not, then maybe the next question, Kak Krisan.
Okay, the next question. This is actually the first question, and this third question is Michelle's idea. So the third question, what is it that you do to feel warm at heart in daily basis?
Can you say it once again?
What is the thing that you do to warm your own heart in a daily basis?
Oh, okay. For me, like this maybe become really like a bit religious, but I like to talk with God before I sleep, before when I wake up, like the late night, like maybe not like in the usual prayer, but just talk with God, like, oh, today I feel so sad, or today I feel so tired. That really relieves my heart a lot. Or maybe just writing in a diary. I love writing in a diary sometimes when it gets too much. because I'm not kind of person who can talk freely to people about my problem like that. Okay, I think that's it for me. What about the others? Or maybe Kak Krisan, what's your answer? I want to know.
Well, come to think of it, maybe it's quite the same as you. When things got too much, I like to write. Maybe in my journal or in the computer, writing or typing, it's just the same to just, pour out my feelings. And the second thing I'd like to do to feel good, to boost my mood, to warm my heart, is also reading. Reading any book. Reading any book is very soothing to my soul, I think.
Okay, okay, Kadia, do you want to answer?
Yes, okay, thank you for the chance. I do writing too when things got too much. I do journaling and I also write diary. But right now, because I'm a mother, I like to watch the face of my children when they are sleeping. And I think that's the thing that really warms my heart because they remind me of why I'm still alive. And the reason I'm still alive is because, yeah, everything I do is for them. So maybe not everyone can relate because, yeah, not everyone is mother. But thank you.
Okay, that's very heartwarming actually. That's really cute. Okay, I think most mothers can relate. I too have a child, like a cat child, not a real child, but okay, that yeah, like we care a lot about our children.
I
Okay,
was gonna
anyone
say,
else?
Sharon, for me, playing with my dog.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else, Chi?
Eating ice cream. Vodka. Vodka is heartwarming, literally.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Actually, I'm just realized that I'm writing a heartwarming book too right now. Hopefully will be released next year or some, yeah. Okay. Anyone else? You can raise your hand. Okay, while waiting for someone to raise their hand. So the book I'm writing is actually inspired from, not really inspired, but yeah, kind of inspired from Penerbit Haru's The Traveling Cat Chronicles. Because I had a cat back then. Yeah, the name is the same with Penerbit Haru's Nana in The Traveling Cat Chronicles. Okay, anyone else? Anyone? Okay, Shannon.
So aside from reading to warm my heart, I usually watch TV series or movies just like Kak Debbie and sit around and talk with my family. Basically, my family is just my light in my life. They're my everything. So if I feel down, I just, just talk with them. And I would feel so much better.
Okay, thank you, Shannon, for answering. Okay. Okay, anyone else? So apparently a lot of people relate a lot to children and also pets. Julieta, you have 8 cats. I even had trouble raising one. You have 8.
Yeah, I have 8 cats, and they're not babies. They're not kitten, but they're grown-up cats, and it's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, my mom helped me take care of them, and they warm my heart. So
Okay, I see.
cat mom.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, anyone else? Maybe the last one before we close the meeting.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
I think it is true that writing is one of the things that you can do to warm your heart, because word right now for me myself, there is nothing that can make my heart warm in the real world. So I try to make myself warm by the things experienced by the characters that we write, because that way you can still believe that there is a warm, even though it is not in the real world. You can feel the warmth from your characters. Maybe it's maybe Sherry or any writers here. A lot of people who write books and write about their characters mostly are able to feel the warmth conveyed by the characters, especially in this kind of moment where what you hear is only bad news, and bad news almost every day. So yeah, I think writing is the best thing for me to warm my heart, maybe your heart.
Okay, I also want to ask, like, from all the books that you have written, like Prisca, what genre is your favorite to write?
Me?
Yeah.
I really love writing the books with magical realism genre. So it is sort of becoming my favorite genre, and the genre that I often write right now. And from now on, my favorite ones are always the recent one I write. So my favorite one happens to be Heavenly, and this, yeah, even though it is fantasy genre, but actually I prefer magical realism genre more than fantasy genre. But Heavenly is my favorite, and my most favorite one is right now is Wintry Time. You cannot find it in physical book. It is an online book, so you can read it in Jabaja, and it is free in happy hour. It is heartwarming, and it contains a lot of things. It has a positive mood. There are best friends, and I think best friends is one of the elements which can make your heart warm. And yeah, you can read it, and it is set in 90s, and a lot of warm things, and a lot of I think very touching scenes between these two best friends that turn into lovers. Actually, in Heavenly there is some heartwarming contents too, but it is more angsty rather than heartwarming, I think, because it tells about the deity of the Mas Andri has read this book because he is the editor of this novel. He knows how angsty. So I think that talking about this book in this section is not really fitting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kapriska, for answering. Okay, so we also have a giveaway for Be With You. Sorry, my dog is barking. So we have a giveaway for Be With You, which is given by Mary. So yeah, Mary, you can start. Okay, for those of you who maybe want to read Be With You, this is a great chance to do so. Mary? Mary? Okay, okay, should I just give the giveaway question? What about it, board members?
I think it's okay, Chef. Maybe Mary's connection is in trouble again.
Okay then. Okay, so the rules is kind of simple. Just answer correctly in the chat, and whoever answered correctly the first time, you can get the book. So prepare to write to type fast. Okay, so the question is, who are the name? Oh, Mary is here.
Yeah,
Mary?
yeah.
Okay, do you have the question already, Mary? Okay, I think Mary is having connection troubles. Okay, then I will give the question. So the question is, get ready. Who are the name of the three main characters in Be With You? Okay, that's a simple question. Come on. Takumi, Mio, and Yuji. Okay.
Hello?
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Mary. I took over the giveaway. Takumi, Mio, and Yuji. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the first one to answer is Dante. So yeah, Dante. Dante, you stole my answer, Shannon said. Okay, Dante, you got the book. Okay, maybe you can contact Mary later. Mary will contact you later. Okay, I think that's it for today. So thank you everyone for being here, and thank you also for Prisca and Penerbit Haru for collaborating with us. You can also get Be With You if you want to read this, or Prisca's Heavenly book. You can get it in Penerbit Haru's stores, yeah, in Shopee, and also where else? Can anyone help me? Maybe Andri or David? Where can you get the book?
Shopee and Tokopedia Penerbit Haru also. I think several online bookstore also have it available.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's already available in Gramedia though.
Okay. Okay, so you can get it online on Shopee or Tokopedia, and also some online bookstores. Okay, so I think that's it. We also want to take a picture together, so I can take a picture. So maybe if you can turn on your camera, we will take a picture together. Maybe you can also show your book that you bring. Okay. Okay, wait. Okay, still waiting for some people to turn on their cams. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Okay, let's take a picture. Get ready. 1, 2, 3. Okay, second slide. Oh no, okay. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next time. Bye.
You.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay.